So, I've done it. Created a compilation of 100+ techs, random facts, and other junk in Smash Brothers. What does this mean for the channel? I truly do not know, but I do have some plans. So, probably no more Smash content, at least on this channel. I do have a second channel where I post funny moments with friends.
We can close that. We don't want weed right now.
But the next big thing that I'm going to be working on is the 464 SMP. Now, if you're a real one, you know all about the 464, and I don't even got to explain it to you. The 464 is a new SMP in which all members have one life. It's an SMP, alright, it's an SMP. But I'm not actually done with it quite yet, so I'm going to post clips about what I'm adding to this SMP slowly over time. I don't know if it's going to be daily content or what. Just hang around. I promise I have something cool in the works. If you manage to shield a move that hits your shield 10 times, on the 11th hit, you get the option to roll or spot dodge, and it's invincible on frame 1. It's great for countering rapid jabs, although some characters' rolls aren't fast enough and they don't cover enough distance to really get the full use of this little tech. Bowser's up special has 3 variations. They're based on when you mash. If you mash early, you get to go more distance. If you mash late, it gives you more height, and if you don't mash, it's kind of like in the middle of the two. During the first half of Bowser's Whirling Fortress, he can clash with pretty much every weakish projectile and then end out on top, meaning it's a pretty decent way to negate projectiles without having to shield. If your opponent is buried, you can still use low knockback moves to make it so they'll stumble as soon as they get freed from their bury, meaning you can extend your combo much more than if you just hit them with a regular attack. Violet's down B has a special property where it can actually catch and hang on to ledges and platforms. Charge canceling is a tech that any character who has a chargeable projectile that they can store and use later can accomplish. Basically, you start charging midair, and right before you hit the ground, you jump. It'll cancel any charge canceling frames as well as your jump frames, and you'll just be able to move instantly. Cloud can guarantee a ledge grab if he climb hazards either right directly underneath the ledge, like you fall from the ledge and you immediately up B, or above it. So you can always go for that climb hazard suicide and live. Cloud has a unique feature where when he gets limit in the air, his air momentum stalls almost completely for just a moment. Corrin has a technique where you can actually pin a bit faster than would normally allow you. Basically, when you input pin and then press A or B, you'll insta-pin. It's pretty fast, it can catch people off guard. In Smash Ultimate, Wii Fit Trainer's deep breathing adds significant buffs to the character, increasing the damage output, reducing damage taken, increasing the walk, run, dash, and traction, as well as the airspeed, fall speed, and gravity of the character slightly. For some characters, their double jump is actually higher than their regular jump. For those characters, the technique of drop jumping is very useful. It's basically where you drop through a platform but instantly jump, allowing you to basically spend your double jump to kind of get a different angle. With this new angle, it could open up different combo routes or movement options. Duck Hunt's can has a frame 1 activation. However, its explosion technically takes a frame, so technically it's frame 2. In Smash Ultimate, each character has a specific item toss strength, meaning each time they throw an item, their speed and their damage is slightly different dependent on their weight. Falco has a cool technique where if you side special at the ledge and you hold down, you'll stay at the ledge and you'll maintain that spike hitbox. And it leads to this. Mii Brawler and Zero Suit Samus have the neat ability to use their down special, the feint jump, the one where they do the little jump and it's like a bunch of blue particles. Whenever they run into a wall and they press the jump, they'll jump off the wall. Yoshi has an instant shield break. If the opponent is at ledge or near an edge, you can use the egg roll, and if you run into them and you keep mashing the control stick, you won't fall off the ledge and you'll keep producing a hitbox. And if you do it fast enough, you can lock them in shield and then break their shield. Game & Watch has a weird tech you can do with this bucket, which, just to recap, is a reflector and an absorber, but here's the weird tech. If you pull out his bucket while being midair, put it away, and then do it again, you become really weirdly floating. It's easier to see with a double jump, but it's just a weird tech that you can kind of use to mix up, but it's kind of pointless because your Game & Watch. Just up B. In Smash Ultimate, what's the chance of dropping an item while holding it?
You might think it's just random every time you get hit, but it's actually not. But it kinda is at the same time. The chance of dropping an item in Smash Brothers is based on the damage taken divided by 70. However, it's slightly different for a Smash Ball. The Smash Ball's formula is the base damage of the attack times 2 plus a handicap divided by 100. The handicap comes into play if the player attacking has a stock lead or stock deficit. And it's like a 30% per stock lead or minus 30% per stock deficit, I believe. Could be wrong on that one. Having the stock lead obviously makes it less likely to hit the Smash Ball. Having a stock deficit makes it more likely to hit the Smash Ball out of someone. Like and subscribe if you didn't know.
In Smash Ultimate, there's a technique for moves that have long-lasting hitboxes. You can still counter them even if you shield them. This is just a useful tech if people are trying to land near on your shield, or if you've got a lot of combo characters trying to start stuff on your shield. Pretty good get off me trick.
Dash walking is a technique where you'll dash and then flick the C stick down, and you'll continue to just keep sliding based on your momentum while walking. It's a pretty useful technique for just moving around. Shields actually have an HP value. In Smash Ultimate, all shields have a maximum HP value of 42.02%, meaning you only need to deal 42.02% to break someone's shield. Or do you? Shields in Smash Ultimate work a little differently than what you think. Shields actually increase the damage done to them by 1.19%. Shields also lose 9% every second they are up, but recover 4.8% every second. Certain attacks, I'm sure you can think of some, have extra shield damage. So for example, we have Mars Shield Breaker. It does however much damage it does, plus an extra 25% to shields, plus a 1.19 multiplication increase. So then that's why your shield gets broken to Mars Shield Breaker, and not, I don't know, Cloud Forward Smash. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't get shield broken. What's the #1 tip for new players? In my opinion, you might think that it's to learn what each button does, or maybe to learn what character you want to play. I think it's to learn to not look at your character. Yeah, really. Think about it. What's the point of the game? To knock others off the stage. So what should you focus on? Other characters. Get into the habit of focusing on your opponent rather than your character. So that's what I would recommend as. How do you deal with Kirby's when they jump into the sky and stone you? It's very easy. You just move out of the way. Or, right, if you're a gangster, you can hit him out of it. Kirby Stone only has 25 HP, meaning if you deal that much damage, you totally make him feel stupid. Or, you could grab him.
In Smash Ultimate, there's one character whose counter can technically break, and that character is Sephiroth. His down B, Scintilla, I don't know how you call it, but if it takes more than 30% or so, it'll break. And he'll block the attack, but he'll be in a considerable amount of hit stun. Not even hit stun, just stunned in general. So like, punish that.
Who has the best tipper mechanic? If we're going on pure damage, it's between Roy and Marth, with Ridley as a runner-up, in my opinion. For both Roy and Marth, hitting their respective sweet spots can net around a 40% increase on average from the sour spots. Ridley is a runner-up only because the down special can deal anywhere from 5% to 45%. Or 10%. Sephiroth is also notable because he has both a tipper and reverse tipper on some of his sword moves, with some moves being stronger at the hilt, the tip, and even the middle. In Smash Ultimate, you can tilt your shield without pressing the B button. And if you do that, you will not be able to use any special move to get out of shielding. Normally you'd be able to up B out of shield or something like that, but you cannot if you are tilting your shield. Pro tip, don't tilt your shield.
You ever throw one of those barrels or one of those capsules and it suddenly explodes? These actually have a 1 out of 8 chance to explode, meaning you have the exact same chance of throwing one of these and having it explode as you do having Hero perform a critical hit, or technically Game & Watch hitting a 9 since he can't hit 2 numbers in a row. Hero's Keklang has a funny interaction with a certain Final Smash. If Hero uses Keklang and the Ice Climber use their Final Smash, Hero will be pushed off of the stage due to the natural wind box that generates because of the iceberg. It will naturally push opponents away even if they are invincible. This doesn't have any other use, I'm gonna be honest. This is just another filler day.
Heroes Whack and Thwack have an actual formula for when they will one-hit KO another player. So, if we take a look at this graph made by the user Meshima, it basically gives us our answer. But if you're not good at math like me, or if it's too early for all this, let's look at a way more readable version of this. And if you want to screenshot it, it could come in handy in the future. But as you can see, thwack and whack will scale with the opponent and hero's percent. How much does it cost to craft Steve's tools? Steve has both a crafting cost and a repair cost for his tools. It costs 2 wood for a wooden tool set, 1 stone for a stone set, 4 iron for a set, and the same amount for a gold set, and 1 diamond for a diamond set. However, to repair tools, it costs 1 wood, stone, and diamond to repair your set, but it costs 2 iron to repair your iron set, and 4 gold to repair all your gold tools. How does the tipper mechanic work? So, the tipper mechanic is very simple to understand. Certain attacks have a sweet and a sour spot. The sweet spot would deal significantly more damage and obviously launch farther. And the sour spot will deal less damage and obviously launch less farther. Generally though, you'll want to prioritize sweet spots to kill, or at the very least launch off stage. But you can still use sour spots in order to combo, with their low damage and low knockback. And that's how to beat Sora's Up B and other multi-hit moves. When it comes to multi-hit moves, there is a way to deal with them. It's called SDI, but I've talked all about SDI, LSI, and DI in this video. So, assuming that you know what we're talking about, how would we use it in an instance like this? In most cases, because it's Sora's Up B, it wouldn't be humanely possible to SDI out of something like this, but in the case of rapid jabs, it can really be effective. In my opinion, the best controller to take advantage of SDI is a GameCube controller, because of all these notches, they will count as a new input. But I did say it wouldn't be humanely possible. Let's look at how the training mode mod pack would handle having to DI a multi-hit attack. As you can see, it struggles to SDI out of Sora's Up B at lower percents, but at high percents, it can sometimes SDI out. So to wrap this up, to get out of SDI moves, you need to input directions that would get you out of the move. But if you wanted to learn more about that, you should have checked out the video I recommended at the beginning. How to train in Smash Ultimate. If you remember, in my previous 2 videos, I talked about how to get better at parrying. Originally, this was going to be my secret best way to get better at parrying. Except, this has way more potential than I realized. Let me explain. Nintendo is a little heavy-handed, to say the least, when it comes to discussing mods. So if you do some research and scrounge around the internet, you might find a way to emulate your Switch. And if you look a little harder, you might find a training mode mod pack. And in this mod pack, you get tons of info, like hitboxes, and you can create recordings so you can practice certain scenarios. This is objectively, in my subjective opinion, the best way to practice parrying, as you can make a character do a set of moves and then attempt to parry them. What are the best ways to practice parrying? Number 4, go to a stage with 2 walls like Onett or Dracula's Castle and turn on green shells. Once there, set yourself up in this hole, throw a green shell, and try to parry it as it goes back and forth, and you can amp up the challenge by adding more green shells. Number 3, you can use the training mode to set up a character to use a move that's semi-unpredictable, like Game & Watch's Chef move, which will allow you to get a feel for parrying projectiles. Number 2, we take this a step further and we pick a character with multi-hits for a move, something like Cloud's forward smash or something, and try to practice parrying all the hits. Number 1, have a friend to help you get better at parrying. Okay, but there is a secret option that's not encouraged by Nintendo, but check back in tomorrow and I'll tell you all about it. Peace. There's a secret 5th taunt that every character has. You probably already know about the 3 built-in character taunts for each character, and I'm not talking about that. What's 4 and 5? We all know what 4 is, that's teabagging. For a 5th secret taunt, it's this. Yes, this majestic King K. Rool running infinitely on the side of the stage is your 5th taunt. You just need to do a special setting turn on to get this working. All you gotta do, get to the menu where you're changing your controls. All you have to do is once you click other settings, click A, B, special smash, whatever, you know, the weird one. Basically what it means is whenever you press A and B together, you do a smash attack, but that's not what we're worried about. Once you have that turned on, enter a match, and all you have to do is while you're running and you're turning around, press and hold A and B, and then once you reach a ledge, you should run infinitely. You can actually use Inkling's Splat Bomb to pull opponents towards you. By throwing the bomb at max or near max charge, it will detect hurt boxes at frame 1, but explode on frame 2, meaning if the opponent is charging at you, you can end up pulling them towards you as the bomb clips through them. Smash Bros. Ultimate has a ledge grab limit. Every time you grab the ledge without touching the stage or getting hit, you will have less and less ledge intangibility. By the 4th re-grab, you will have none, and the grand total of ledge grabs you can do before you can't grab it anymore is 6. And if you try to grab the ledge, you'll just slide off. Martha B has invincibility frames when it's used, but did you know it's safer to use it in the air versus on the ground? So when Marth uses his dolphin slash in the air, it has invincibility frames from startup to frame 5. However, on the ground, the invincibility only kicks in around frame 4 for 1 frame.
What is Mario's best auto shield options? You might think it's up special. Yeah, it is. I mean, I even made this little card with some info of Mario's auto shield options, and you can check the frame data. It's frame 3, bro. You might as well spam it if they touch and you'll shield. Feel free to screenshot. I ain't got no more tips for that.
There's a technique for Captain Falcon and the Belmonts called no impact landing. It's basically when you double jump onto a platform and cancel all momentum. Pretty much you just double jump, and when you're right above the platform, it should work. The timing is very tricky, but looks pretty cool. Okay, so while I was recording for the pick lag video, I noticed that Olimar's Pikmin actually pick up items and then bring them to him. I didn't know this. I've been playing the game since it came out, and this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Pikmin that are latched onto the opponent apply 2 frames of hit lag every time they attack. This is called pick lag. It might not seem like much, but imagine that every option you do while getting munched on by a Pikmin increases by 2 frames. You can make a lot of moves unsafe and open up new combo routes for Olimar. Hitting Pikmin also adds extra lag onto your moves.
What's the #1 way you can tell someone is a noob? When they don't hit the tech. It's so easy. All you have to do is hit the shield button when your character is run into a wall. You probably knew that. But did you know that during the KO zoom animation, when, it does that red spark thing, you can still tech. The same rules apply naturally, but you can still tech. It's not completely lost, You haven't lost the game yet, so never give up before it's too early. In Smash Ultimate, certain moves have priority over each other, in which one move will overpower another, or they'll clash with each other. Let's go over the different types of priority. When 2 ground attacks clash, all that matters is the percent difference. If one attack is stronger by at least 9%, it will beat out the weaker attack. If they're equal, they'll be put into a rebounding state where they have to deal with the lag of clashing. This will happen even if one move is stronger than another. Projectiles follow the same rules of the 9% rule. So if it's weaker by 9%, it'll dissipate. If it's stronger, it'll overpower. Aerials will never have to be put into a rebound state, so you never have to worry about the 9% rule. If it hits a grounded move, what'll happen is you'll both get hit, but for projectiles, instead of going through it, you'll be put into a freeze frame, where if you're stronger, you'll kick through it, or whatever your aerial is, but if you're weaker, you'll get hit by the projectile. Normally when you jump and do an aerial and head in the opposite direction, you kind of lag in place. Not necessarily like your controller's lagging, but your character kind of just sits there while their aerial drift actually starts up. However, there is a technique in which you can cancel that aerial drift. Basically, you need to jump, input the aerial, but you need to flick the aerial, so it's only active for a few frames. And by a few frames, I mean 2 frames. If you do that successfully, you should do the aerial and then head backwards with no lag in your aerial drift.
Ridley has a unique option where if someone rapid jabs his shield until he is completely out of range, he can choose to use his skewer, and if timed correctly, it is impossible for the opponent to get out in time. How long does each of Robin's tomes take to come back? So each of Robin's tomes has a durability and a recharge time. So let me get straight to the stats. The Levin Sword has 8 uses and takes 10 seconds to recharge, but for each KO, you reduce the time needed by 3 seconds, and each smash attack you land reduces the recharge time by 0.4 seconds. The Thunder Tome has a durability of 20, but each charge will use a certain amount listed here. Arcfire has 6 uses and takes about 12 seconds to recharge, and every KO reduces the recharge by 1 second. Elwind has 10 uses, each slash costs 1 durability, and every second you hold the rapid jab, you use 1 durability. And it takes 6 seconds to recharge, and each KO reduces the recharge by 2 seconds. Nosferatu has 3 uses and has about 30 seconds of recharge time, and each KO reduces the time by 1 second. Whenever Isabelle pockets something, it's shown with the special icon above Isabelle, or Villager, and it's dependent on what type of item it is. Objects with a fire effect are represented by an orange flame. Objects that push opponents are represented by a blue swirl. That's your stuff like Mario's Flood or Squirtle's Water Gun. Objects with an electric effect are represented by a yellow lightning bolt. Objects with a freeze effect are represented by, you guessed it, ice. Explosive objects are represented by a black bomb. Certain effects with a slash effect are represented by a crescent. Objects that recover health are represented by a red apple. Objects without any special effects are represented by a jagged yellow comic bubble shape. Rush Coil, Poison Breath from Piranha Plant, Aha, and Pitfalls all have their own unique icons shown on screen.
I recently learned about a secret Snake technique. So, did you know Snake has a unique option when it comes to his grenades? While he can pull them out and throw them in different arcs, other characters can pick them up and throw them back. However, Snake has a trick up his sleeve he can use. If Snake shields while someone else is holding his grenade, they instantly drop it. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This is something that Snake could do in Brawl. I didn't know that, and it looks really cool and might be kind of broken if he could do that now. I kind of wish he could. That would be really funny.
Don't panic! Okay, well, as you saw in the clip, that King K. Rool, he panicked against my Cloud and I hit him with a meaty forward smash. Don't let this be you, bro. You know what your panic options are and know when to use them. Generally, bad idea to spam panic options. If you want to use one, use it every now and again. But what is a panic option? You already know, bro. Those are your up Bs out of shield, those are your rolls, those are your air dodges. Basically anything that makes you vulnerable but makes you move a while, like makes you move a large distance but leaves you vulnerable, can be considered a panic option. Instead, you should learn how to DI and SDI and frame data. That's a lot of stuff to learn, but you should learn it. Alright, that's it.
What are your resources?
In Smash Bros. In other games, your resources are pretty obvious, stuff like money or elixir. But in Smash, it's not as obvious what your resources are. Starting from the most obvious are your lives or stocks. If you run out, you lose, obviously. But you don't really need to keep them into account. You'll always see them once you lose a stock or the opponent loses a stock, but only thing you really need to keep them in account is if it's a team match. You know if you're losing or you're winning. The next important resource to take into account is your percent, for obvious reasons. And the last universal resource to take into account is your double jump and your air dodge. You don't get your double jump back unless you land on stage or grab the ledge. However, the air dodge will come back if you get hit, or, you land on stage or grab the ledge. Characters obviously have their own specific resources like Cloud Limit, but I gotta save those for another time, bro. I gotta get to 100 days. Did you know in Smash Ultimate you can rotate your shield? If you hold B and tilt the stick while you're shielding, you'll move your shield. While you're moving it in the direction you move it, it can protect you from that side better, but it leaves you vulnerable on the other side, obviously. It's useful if your shield is getting low and you really need to protect yourself in a last hit situation, so now you know.
Villager's Pocket has the cool ability to catch projectiles and other items and use them later, but it also has the ability to negate these certain moves. The moves Villager and Isabelle's Pocket can disable are the following: Link's Remote Bomb, Diddy Kong's Banana Peel, Rob's Gyro, Holy Water from either Simon or Richter, King K. Rool's Crown, Bowser Jr.'s Mecha Koopa, Wii Fit Trainer's Soccer Ball, and technically Pac-Man, since just by holding the bonus fruit, any of them, it stops him from using it, but pocketing it allows him to use it. The crazy part is that you could just not use these, denying a character from a piece of their kit, that is until you lose a stock, in which you lose whatever you have pocketed.
Snake's cardboard box is an iconic taunt, but there's one character that has a special interaction with it. All characters, when Snake is in the box, can pick up Snake's box and automatically throw it. When Donkey Kong picks it up, he actually gets to carry it around for as long as he pleases, or he gets hit, but just a cool little thing. It has no usage whatsoever, but I think it's very funny.
To do the spin shot, you want to almost fully charge a spin dash or a spin charge and double jump as you release the charge. I would recommend spin dash, the side B, as it's way easier to do it that way. If you end up jumping out of it with no momentum, you did it late. If you end up jumping while still doing a spin dash, you were too early. When Sonic uses his up B, he can actually cancel his N lag on landing. To do this, just crouch before landing. It's not a huge time cut, but could come in handy in niche situations. Quickly dashing forward and backward, pretty much flicking the stick, is a good technique to fake out your opponent. It's called spot dashing. It's almost a slingshot, but it's way easier to perform and implement into your game plan. How much health does Steve's blocks have? Steve's blocks each have a set of HP, and over time they lose that amount of HP. Blocks lose 1.2 HP every second, but lose 9.6 HP if a player is standing on it. Dirt has 8 HP, wood has 12, stone has 16, iron has 20. Tethers have a much stricter limit to grab onto the ledge, only allowing 3 regrabs. Some tethers have better ranges, and it can be obvious. So check out tomorrow's video to see my top 5 tether grabs. The Omni-Gay is a professional technique in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Brawl. Let me explain. The tech originated from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where Snake would place a C4 on his teammate, and then that teammate, being Kirby or Meta Knight, would up throw, and Snake would set off the C4, hopefully killing just the opponent. But the Omni-Gay returns! You can still perform this technique in Smash Bros., and now Charizard can do it. When you throw an item, there's two ways to throw it. You can tilt throw it, or just tap the button, or you can smash input it, where you basically do a smash input, where you try to do a smash attack while holding it. This works both on the ground and in the air. It hits harder, goes farther if you smash it, but for the tilts, obviously it goes slower and it doesn't go as far. Top 5 reflectors in Smash Ultimate. Number 5, we have Kazuya's reflector. Not only does it have a crazy multiplier, it's hard to predict since like a third of the input is holding forward. Number 4, we have King DDD, an unbreakable reflector, so in theory it's the best, but I have preferences and I'm gonna say them. Number 3, Villager / Isabel. You can hold on to a projectile until you die, and the threat of a Villager or Isabel standing there with your fully charged projectile ready to throw it back at a 1.9 times damage multiplier is mortifying. It also protects from both sides. Number 2, Joker with Arsene. It's a frame 4 reflector and counter. It lasts a while, has a huge hitbox for protecting Joker, and you kinda just can't beat it. Number 1, Falco's reflector. Wait, it's a frame 1 reflector. I'm going to give you a top 9 list of the best no knockback moves for racking up damage. Number 9, we have Game & Watch's Judge. It's literally RNG whether or not it's a good move. At number 8, Bayonetta's gun shoes and regular guns. They fire at a niche angle that could be helpful, but not really for a zero knockback move. At number 7, we have Snake's Grenade. Don't get me wrong, it's a good move, but it explodes, and you can only have 2 out on the field. At number 6, we have Joker's Gun, which has good enough range that you can just annoy people to commit to an option. At number 5, we have Olimar's Pikmin, which all have their own quirks, but if one of these managed to lock onto you, they could do some serious damage if the opponent do anything about it. At number 4, we have Fox Laser, and I think this is the quintessential move to deal zero knockback. Fox almost never gets a shield break, but if he did, this is the move you could use to take advantage. At number 3 and number 2, we have Dr. Mario and regular Mario's cape. If either of them ever get a shield break, they can almost always kill off of it because of this move. At number 1, we have Piranha Plant's Poison Breath. He can punish very easily with Poison Breath and pretty much guarantee a kill because of how much damage it can do. Certain projectiles in Smash Ultimate are transcendent, which means they'll put out a hitbox, but they can't be cancelled out. That's basically it. I'll go more into how priority works in tomorrow's video. How do you deal with Steve's minecart? Pretty easy. Throw a strong projectile. Oh, you don't have a projectile. That's fine. You can just counter with a counter that counters projectiles. Make sure to jump, otherwise you get grabbed. Oh, you're not one of the 23 characters with a reflector? That's fine. You can just kill the minecart. It only has 8 HP. Oh, you can't time a forward tilt to save your life? Would now be a bad time to mention that you could roll through it with good timing? Alright, fine. Let me tell you 2 foolproof options you have. You can either A, jump backwards, and if the Steve is aggressive, you can punish, or try to dodge with a double jump. Or, if the Steve uses the minecart in the air, and he hits your shield, you can totally punish with an out of shield option that's faster than 16 frames. Okay, final tip. If he goes for the minecart, just jump on a platform. Well, how do parries work in Smash Ultimate? When you drop your shield, you have about 5 frames where you're essentially invincible to any attack. If you are struck by anything, you do a parry, where you become invincible for a little bit longer. You also do this cool little pose. That's character dependent. If it's a physical attack, it'll put the opponent in 3 frames of extra lag. This doesn't occur if it's a projectile. What's nice is that even if your shield loses HP, you should watch my video on that, the range for your parry is the same regardless of the size of your shield. And if you want to know the best way to practice parries, well, that's for tomorrow's video. What does Cloud's Limit do, actually? Well, if you have it charged, all of your stats get buffed by a certain percent, either by 1.1 or 1.15, and of course you get your 4 special attacks. Here's a list of all of the stats that get buffed. It's not just your walk speed or run speed, it's pretty much everything except attack speed. When Steve is standing on his TNT, and if he stands on it just right, when he down smashes and air dodges, he can kind of just dodge it and basically trigger the explosion for free. When you grab someone, depending on their position, you can manipulate whether or not they will jump up after you release them, or if they'll be grounded when you release them. To release someone into the air, they just need to not be touching the ground. This can depend on the height and position of the character. To release someone regularly, you do the opposite and make sure they are touching the ground. Peach and Daisy have the unique mechanic to float. If you hold down and press jump, or whatever you have set as jump, you'll float right above the ground, giving you the option to do pretty much instant aerials. Joker has a cool technique with his gun called gun sliding. It's where you dodge in the air using his gun, obviously, and depending on how late you start dodging, you'll end up with some crazy momentum, sliding in whatever direction you chose to dodge.
Hero has a specific tech where if both heroes have bounce on and you're about mid-range, if you throw out a frizz, you'll always win the bounce off, because typically when Hero reflects a projectile, he'll lose.
Hero can restore his MP bar by either attacking someone, hitting their shield, or restoring it through his MP. The MP gauge refills automatically over time as well, but if you are charging a special, or if you are in the command selection window, it will not charge.
As discussed yesterday, Hero's bounce is pretty cool. If you have Hero's bounce equipped and your opponent is reflecting or has an active reflector, you can do some serious damage and break the reflector if you run up and swoosh.
Simon and Richter's Holy Water actually has health. It has 6 HP. It loses 3 HP when it hits a player, and it loses no HP when it hits a shield. It obviously dies instantly if it hits the floor. Mario and Mii Sword Fighter are the only 2 fighters who have the ability to reflect the opponent. And when they use that on an opponent, that effect lasts for about a second and a half. I know that's not a large amount, but it's significant enough.
Ike's Quick Draw has the special effect of if you manage to hit someone, or at least hit someone who's also intangible, you get to up B almost immediately after, greatly improving his recovery capability. Ike has a little trick he can do. If he jumps to ledge and he reverses his side B, he can still grab the ledge if he releases it.
Inkling has this weird tech where if you change your right stick to special and you run off the stage and you press and hold down, you'll actually float with the splat bomb, and it's kind of weird. I don't think this has any use, but it's cool. This is another filler day, I'll be real.
The instant dash attack is performed by dashing and then tapping the attack button. As long as you don't do them at the same exact time, you'll get an instant dash attack, as seen here.
Jigglypuff's rollout, when you use it in the air, has an air hitbox and a ground hitbox, meaning it's a hitbox when it's rolling on the ground. If you time it just right, you can hit someone with both hitboxes, and if they have a little bit of shield damage, you can break their shield. Joker has a unique animation when he fully summons Arsene. This can be triggered by reaching the full bar and just pressing nothing. This animation grants you intangibility, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Hero's down throw is a berry, so if the opponent is at a high enough percent, they'll stay buried for long enough that K. Rool can set up a jab combo in which he'll throw you in the ground, jab you, wait a second so you would get out of the berry, and then he can grab you again, or he can just do something else. K. Rool can dash grab at the ledge, and if he down throws and jabs, he will then fall off the stage, canceling his jab's animation, allowing him to combo, but I didn't do it in this clip, obviously. Hero's Snooze has a cool effect where it doesn't burn out or dissipate when it runs into a wall or shield, meaning if you play Snooze at the ledge, you can get something really cool to happen in which your opponent just can't grab the ledge. It's pretty fun. Little Mac can lose his KO punch in 3 different ways. 1, losing a stock. 2, actually using it. Or 3, if he gets put into the tumble animation. Little Mac has a unique quirk in which if he clashes with a grounded move, he'll never have to suffer the rebound state. And if you don't know what that is, you'll have to check out my video in which I delved not very deep into it. It was a 30-second video about how clashes and planks, and just give that a watch.
Lucas has a special technique called the double jump cancel. To do this, the player must do a short hop, and then as you double jump, you press the grab button. This technique is almost frame perfect. You are only able to do it within the first 3 frames of Lucas's double jump.
You can cancel Leaf Shield by dashing, and while you're dashing, you pick up the item, either with Z or whatever you have your grab button set to. But you want to make sure you flick the stick and not hold it, otherwise it won't work. Meta Knight's forward smash is the only forward smash that lasts for 1 frame, meaning that if you clash with it, he tends to have less clash lag than other fighters.
Mewtwo's disable only works if he's facing the opponent, and if they're facing away or are airborne, it doesn't really do anything.
When Min Min successfully grabs and throws an opponent, she gains Power Dragon for 20 seconds. It increases her Dragon Arm, the one that doesn't change, for about 20 seconds with a 15% increase to damage. And it only lasts for 20 seconds. She will lose it if she is grabbed, frozen, stunned, asleep, crumpled, paralyzed, buried, or fails to tech.
Ness and a few other fighters who have very quick down tilts can spam them in order to pick up items.
Ness's Psi Magnet, his down B, is a very powerful combo tool. With certain techniques such as the Fly Mag or just different magnet techniques in general, you can do some pretty crazy things. Sephiroth has a cool tech where if you roll the ledge, jump slightly off stage and use your double jump, and at the height of your double jump, you use Octo Slash and you hold straight down, and as soon as you reach the ledge, you let go of the stick, you'll auto grab the ledge and hit people with Octo Slash.
Luma has 40 HP and respawns take anywhere from 10 seconds to 5, depending on how many players are in the match. Luma gets a 1.5 times damage boost when shot away from Rosalina, using the Luma shot, which is her neutral special. Palutena's dash attack and back air have the special property of having the shield actually being invincible, or intangible. It'll basically clash with anything, ensuring Palutena wins, unless she actually gets hit herself. Zelda can displace her Phantom by jumping and inputting the Phantom at the same exact time. You can tell that you did this if the Phantom stays in place and you move.
PK Freeze will always send wherever the actual PK Freeze projectile has the most momentum, meaning if you do it towards the right, it'll always send them to the right, no matter what angle it hits them at. If you do it towards the left, it'll always send them left. As Rosalina, you can charge Luma shot, and if Luma lands on a platform, she'll stay on the platform, but then you'll be on the ground, meaning you can have Luma basically be Air Force One and you're the ground control. Diddy Kong, and technically Kirby, can do the pop gun cancel. It's where you pull out your peanut pop gun and you cancel it by pressing shield at the exact same time. You can B-reverse it, meaning you can have really unpredictable movement.
Simon and Richter are one of the few characters that can actually bounce off of projectiles, like shown here.
Joker's Rebellion Gauge works pretty much off of a percent basis. At 0, you need 100% to get to it. However, when you take damage, you receive a bit of Rebellion Gauge at a rate of 1.3 times the damage. So, if you take 10% damage, you'll receive 13% for your Rebellion Gauge.
Samus has a little cheesy shield break she can do at the mid to close range, where she does her super missile into fully charged shot, it'll break shield. If it's stunned too far away, the shield break won't happen. Sephiroth's winged form is surprisingly complex, with a lot of variables going into when he has a stock or a score difference, whether he's in advantage or disadvantage, as well as his percent differences between himself and his opponents. When it comes to his deactivation, he gets invisible points. When he gains wing, he gets about 100 or so points, and with a KO he loses 50, and depending on the percent difference between his opponent as well as the stock difference, he may lose more over time. If you'd like to learn more, I'd suggest checking out the Smash Wiki. Sephiroth has a unique tech with his Octo Slash, where if you aim it towards the blast zone and then directly up, you will launch the opponent towards the blast zone while edge guarding them. It's pretty dangerous and really cool to pull off. Sheik has an interesting feature with her up B. If you run off the stage, and as you run off of it, you up B, you'll end up floating a really large distance. Shulk's Monado Arts, when activated, gave you 14 frames of invincibility, which lets you pass through certain attacks and counter punish. Shulk has the ability to slide after he does a speed art. You can do this by pressing B twice, then you press dash, and then you press B as you dash, and then you input a move. I've seen it work best with up smash, but supposedly it can work with other moves as well.
Sora's Sonic Rave has a weird property where if you hold the button while you're inputting the final dash, you'll go a little bit further rather than if you don't hold it.
Sora has a semi-zero to death called the Noops. It's where he tries to hit you with a certain part of his Keyblade over and over again, looping Nair 1 and Nair 2, fast falling, double jumping, yada yada yada. It's supposedly really good, but I don't know about that one. Sora almost has a true shield break. If you Nair, slightly delay the second hit and fast fall, and then down smash, you'll break their shield. It's not always 100% guaranteed. It's really a timing based thing and a feeling based thing, as I've personally found out. You can get an extra boost with Steve's Elytra if you tap A right when you hit the apex of the Elytra. If you don't, you'll just fall down.
Wario has a pseudo-infinite with his bike. If the opponent is at 0% or a very low percent and is hanging on the ledge and you manage to hit them with the bike, you can repeatedly footstool them to death, depending on how they DI. I think this should be called the bike insurance. I think it's a funny name, and I think every tech should have a funny name.
In Smash Brothers, when you tech next to a ledge, or any sort of edge, you can slip off of it. To do this, you just tech into the ground, but By teching into it, I mean you directional air dodge into the platform. You should be aiming for the corner. But before you touch the platform and actually start teching, you let go of the stick so it becomes neutral, and then you should literally just slip off. Captain Falcon has a unique benefit to his up special, in which he can actually manipulate horizontally which direction it can go for the first 14 frames, which is why you can get stuff like this to happen.
Isabel's jab is special because on hit, it's +4, and it scales up depending on the opponent's percentage. You've also heard about Isabel's infamous wall-ball technique. Unfortunately, now it has a combo limit of 20 hits before the opponent is guaranteed to escape or press an option. Villager is one of the few characters that can create an entity on the battlefield. Basically something where you can hit it and it extends your hitbox, making it last longer. And if you use his tree on the side of the stage, you can essentially down tilt on the side of the stage and make it last longer since it hits right at the ledge. Mii Gunner has a cool trick in which if you jump and as you're rising you input Vortex, pretty sure that's what the down special is called, you'll gain this sort of floaty status where you'll just kind of float higher than you normally would have jumped. This goes for the double jump as well. It can be useful recoveries or just stalling, I guess, because you go pretty high. Wario's Waft takes approximately 110 seconds to charge. However, by eating items, you can slowly reduce that charge. You know, it's about a second per item, really whatever you can get your teeth on. If you drop through a platform and you immediately air dodge downwards, you'll technically do a wave land onto the platform. Doesn't really do anything, but it looks flashy.
Zelda and certain other characters have the ability to teleport cancel. It's basically where you teleport onto a ledge and using some of the leftover momentum, you fall off of the ledge and you can act very quickly.
Bowser Jr. has a unique feature where if you hit his clown car, he only takes 80% of the damage he would have normally taken. But if you hit him, or his actual head, he'll end up taking 15% extra damage. Aerials tend to have a lot of lag after they are used. However, they can be cancelled out of before that lag fully ends with most moves. Also, while you're in lag, you can't grab ledge. But this also works with wall jumps, meaning you can cancel any aerial lag with a wall jump and grab the ledge a lot sooner than you normally could. Banjo-Kazooie and a few other characters have the ability to regain their up B after they get Phantom Footstool. Something really niche and kinda cool.